Hey witches, I'm Tiffany of Bewitching.Bemused if you don't already know me. Today I want to talk about finding success and happiness while resisting the box. When I say the box, I am talking about this box, a little neat box, a category that people can just drop you into to, make their understanding of you easier, more palatable. I don't know if I have to fully explain this because I feel like it'll be more and more clear as I go along. So let's just get started. Many times in my life, I have had people tell me what I need to do to define myself, put myself in this box in order for me to be successful. I've even thought to myself, maybe if I do this or change that, I will be better, I will do better. And this doesn't just apply career-wise, right? This applies to lots of things in my life that make me happy, lots of things in my life that fulfill me. So it is career, but it's also, I've received it in dating advice. Prior to meeting my current, now fiance. I have even encountered this in my witchcraft practice and in my spirituality. This also applies to just being true to yourself as you are, as a person. I feel like I'm explaining this kind of ambiguously, but just hang in there and I hope you'll get a shred of wisdom out of this. I've had people throw the quote in my face, "Jack of all trades, master of none," like it was this terrible thing. But the full quote, and I'm gonna read it off so I get it word for word. The full quote is, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one." It's actually a compliment. One example of this is in my acting career and in my social media persona. In the past, I have had previous acting agents tell me that I would get more commercial work if I grew my social media audience and platform. They would tell me to pick one part of my life, just one minimized aspect of my life, and use that to connect with people on socials. For an example, I used to do pinup modeling, and prior to the pandemic and to long distance moves and career changes, I was very much involved in that rockabilly lifestyle. I would go into the drive-in theater events, I would go to swing dancing events, I would go to the classic car shows. And yes, I did a bit of pinup modeling on the side. And that style, that aesthetic is very popular right now. So a lot of people suggested, why don't you just focus on that? Now, if I wanted to just be a pinup model, if that's what my career aspirations were, then yes, that would absolutely make sense to me. But I wasn't striving for that. That was something I always did just for fun on the side. I made a little money with it here and there, but it was never my major life goals. I was focused on acting. And for a time, I did have a separate social media account for just all of my acting work, but even that doesn't get a lot of attention unless people kind of know who you are. I mean, you don't have to be an A, B, or even C-lister to get some sort of following as an actor. But I just wasn't there yet in my career to get, really any sort of I had a small, very small following. So like I said, if I had wanted to focus just on pinup modeling, if that was my number one hobby, that's how I led my whole lifestyle, cool. If that's what I wanted to do as my career goal, also cool. But that wasn't it. My overall goal was working in acting. I did a voice of commercial, film, theater, improv, television, voice acting. I've done so many different aspects of it. And it felt weird to try to just whittle it down to this other niche that wasn't actually even related to acting. Modeling and acting can go hand in hand, but at the end of the day, they're not exactly the same job. But the other thing about it is I wanted to post on social media as myself. I just wanted to represent who I am, and that can't just be whittled down to a pinup model. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong if you have a social media platform that is dedicated to that one thing. I mean, hello, I'm a witch. I have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to that one thing. But that's also why you'll see that my Instagram, linked to this account is not very active. Because on my personal Instagram, again, I'm not just focusing on pinup modeling, and I never did. And on my personal account, even now, I don't just focus on witchcraft. But that's sort of where the issue was with my acting agents. If you're unaware, for a lot of commercial work, if you are already able to market yourself as some sort of influencer on some sort of platform, you do get much more consideration when it comes to specifically commercial work. So instead of just having a dedicated account to one thing to target an audience that would be into that one thing, I was keeping it personal. Yeah, I would share pinup pictures, but then I would also share pictures from a play I was in, and then a hike I was on, and then my dog, and then a D&D game, and then cosplaying at a convention, and then attending a Depeche Mode concert. And it was all over the place. So yes, from a marketing standpoint, of course that social media isn't going to take off because there is no one target audience. If you were to look at that account and try to categorize me as simply a nerd, an actor, a nature enthusiast, a model, all these different things, like you can't just pick one. Meaning, once again, there is no target audience. And with that experience, I would compare myself to pinup models or pinup influencers, rockabilly influencers, or just influencers in general, and I would just be so envious. Why can't I do that? Their whole life seems to revolve around this one thing. And I would beat myself up and feel like I'm just not good enough. I'm not enough. I'm so different. Why can't I do that? In reality, of course, some people have like this one thing that they're super passionate about, and that's great. I think that's really cool, but also a lot of us don't have just the one thing. There are people out there like me who like so many different things, whether it's things that they're pursuing in a career or for hobbies or different types of people that they socialize with. We can't pick a lane. And when you have different various passions and interests, and maybe they overlap, maybe they don't at all, that's okay. It's okay to just dabble a little bit here and there without being a solid expert in any one thing. Now, I do have a few things that I probably have enough practical hours practicing that I know a lot about them, but even then, I would never call myself an expert. Even now with this channel, I look at similar content creators, and a lot of them focus strictly on one path, or they have a very specific aesthetic. And you guys know, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm an eclectic witch. My physical style, my appearance just changes on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes in my videos, I'm super jokey. Other times I'm a lot more serious. Even with this, yes, I can narrow it down to this category of witchcraft practitioner and pagan. But that's as much as I can narrow it down. And to be fair, a lot of the time on YouTube, you can have two different content creators who are putting out the same quality material, the same type of material, but some people are going to follow this person rather than this other person because they just like their aesthetic more, or they like their editing style better, or they like the sound of their voice better. There's all these different little pieces that make up who we choose to follow online, who we're drawn to online. And I know that for me, I may not be able to stick to the same aesthetic every day. So that might or might not be a reason people do or do not follow me. I sometimes look at these other creators in the witchcraft community and I think to myself, wow, maybe if I was a little bit more like them, or I picked a lane, whether that's in regards to the type of videos I'm putting out, because you guys know, I talk about runes, I talk about the Wheel of the Year, I put out spell videos, I put out these rambling, nearly incoherent videos about life topics. I put out book reviews. I mean, I have some sort of pattern that I kind of stick to, but even that, again, it's a little all over the place. I know I had a lot of people that subscribed because of my rune series, and they may or may not have stuck around because, once again, the runes is not the only thing that I talk about. I have a lot of people that got drawn into my, Sabbat videos, but they may or may not stick around because maybe that's all they really wanted. And they wanted to hear more about the Wheel of the Year. They wanted to hear more about the history of the ancient pagans. But unfortunately, that's not the entirety of what this channel is about. This channel is much more broad. So anyway, I look at these other people in the witchcraft community who do have a much more targeted approach and have a much higher subscriber count than I do. And I think, wow, like maybe if I was a little bit more like them, or I narrowed it down and I just kind of hit my target of my content, or if I did kind of get my act together and had more of a solid aesthetic that I was always achieving in every video. I don't know, maybe I'd have more subscribers by this point. Maybe I'd grow faster. Maybe I'd be making more income. Maybe this, maybe that. And then I have to talk myself off of this ledge of conforming because, first of all, my content needs to be original. When you stop making original content, when you start copying somebody else, whether it's their style, whether it's their content, whether it is their editing style or their scripting style, that's when you stop being genuine. It's okay to take inspiration from different creators. That's different than just straight up copying. But to lose that authenticity would be a disservice not only to myself, but to you guys as the audience. I can't copy somebody else just because at this point they happen to be more successful in terms of numbers than I am. And two, I can't narrow myself down into this box when there are so many topics I want to cover. There are so many topics I have yet to cover on this channel. There's so many things I want to share with you all, my thoughts and opinions, as well as things that I've learned and studied, as well as just simplifying the process of finding your way on the pagan path or finding your way as a magical practitioner. There are also new things that I constantly learn every single day, and they just fascinate me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to share this with you guys. So no, I can't conform to just being a channel that focuses on one path or tradition, or just focuses on the runes, or just focuses on ancient pagan history. If I did either of those things, either narrowing myself down, limiting myself, or copying another content creator, I would be so unhappy. And I know that you guys would see right through that. Even in my own practice, not just what you guys see on the channel, but my own personal practice as an eclectic witch. Ooh, I am an eclectic because I am so greedy for knowledge. And I'm so greedy of like trial and error and testing different things. The best kind of magic is the magic that works. And so, yes, sometimes I pull things from different ideas, different peoples, different witches who have come before us, different paths, different traditions, different models of magic. And I see what fits and what works for me, as I always encourage all of you guys to do. Yes, if I picked one path, it would be so much easier. I could just see my journey. Okay, this is the direction I need to go, and take it instead of branching out on all these little side roads. And my reading list would be a lot shorter, but I really don't mind, because I feel like if I had pushed myself to go, okay, pick a tradition and stick to it, I would have really robbed myself of so many wonderful things that I've learned, so many amazing experiences that I've had, and finding different techniques and different ideas and methods that over time I have found work for me. Because like I said, I gave myself that room to experiment and play and explore. And this isn't just about my magical practice, right? Because magical practice in and of itself is non-secular, but for me, this is also about my spiritual path. And I don't think anyone's spiritual path is ever super straightforward. Again, if you have found a particular tradition and that works for you, by all means, I'm not dismissing that at all. It's just not the way for all of us. And for me in particular, I have found that I have gotten a lot more meaning out of my personal spirituality because of all of my exploration. And some people have, found one path and they found so much tremendous meaning in that they have no reason to go outside of it. And either direction is fine. Either road you take is fine. So like I mentioned earlier, as we kind of come full circle, this isn't just about, picking a career or, focusing yourself on a certain area of that career. Another example from acting was I had people telling me, pick a sphere in acting and stick with it. You need to choose if you want to do theater, or if you want to focus on commercial, or if you want to focus on film or television. And you know what? Again, if I had focused on just one of those things, sure, maybe I would have been more successful. I will never know. I will never know. So there's no point in me regretting it. What I do know is that in my time exploring all of these different options under this umbrella, this massive umbrella of acting, I have met people that have made impacts on my life. A lot of them I'm still friends with, close friends with, or at least, in touch with today. I've also had amazing work experiences, and I've learned so much and broadened myself, grown so much as an actor that I don't regret that choice. If I had just focused on theater, who knows, maybe I would have joined the union. Maybe I would be, have a permanent job in a theater now and I'd be good. I just don't know. I don't regret the choices that I made though. It's really about almost every aspect of your life, but also who you are as a person. Never feel like you need to limit yourself to a box. If you have a box that you're in and you're cool with it, you're happy, then by all means, if you don't want to broaden out, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm mostly just talking to the people who are like me, who just, they stretched out so wide, they've ripped apart that box. You can't fit yourself back in there. And you sometimes struggle with this idea of, well, maybe if I limited myself down, just really resist it. We as human beings are complex by nature. So just allow yourself to be so. I also want to put out this message to say that my life isn't all witchcraft all the time. Yes, the most that you guys see of me is me talking about witchcraft and paganism and my beliefs. So you're really only looking at my life through the lens of witchcraft. But anything looked at through a lens is going to be distorted. My spirituality is very important to me, yes. And witchcraft, yes, it takes up a big part of my life, a big chunk of my time, but that aspect of me is not my entire personality and it's not my entire life. I have so many damn interests and passions and hobbies and things that I like to do that provide me happiness and fulfillment that I never talk about on this channel because it just doesn't fit in with the content of this channel. So there's a lot of little areas that you guys will just never really see into. So sometimes when we look at these content creators who focus on one area, we tend to think like that's what their life is all about. But trust me, coming from a content creator, it's not the case. On this channel, you are getting a very concentrated dose of just one aspect of my life. And even recently, I started doing more videos like this, where I talk about things that I think matter, but are only kind of tangentially related to witchcraft, because there are a lot of things that I do want to talk about that I think, okay, this isn't solely focused on witchcraft, but I think my audience will still appreciate it. So here you are. The reason that I want to point this out, that my life is not all witchcraft all the time, is because, like I was saying earlier, when I looked at those other content creators and I thought like, wow, if I was more like them, blah, 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 blah. I never want people to view my channel, my Instagram, as limited as it is on posts or anything else and go, damn, like she seems to dedicate so much time. Her life seems to revolve around this, because that is sometimes the impression that tends to come across when this is your main content focus. And it tricks people into thinking, well, I don't dedicate the amount of time that she seems to dedicate. I don't have the money to buy the things that she buys. I don't have the same aesthetic as her, blah, 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 blah. Maybe not me specifically, but maybe any other witchcraft creator. And then those viewers start to feel like, well, maybe I'm not really a witch. Maybe I'm just kind of dabbling in this. And if you are just dabbling, that's okay too, but you don't have to feel this imposter syndrome when it comes to your own personal magical practice and your own spiritual belief, if of course the two go hand in hand for you. Just because it seems like through, like I mentioned earlier, this distorted lens, it seems like there are other people out there who are more dedicated or spending more money or spending more time or blah, 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 blah. So am I as successful as I want to be? Not really. especially because as time goes on, my benchmark for success keeps getting pushed further and further back. If I went to myself 10, 15 years ago and I told that Tiffany everything that I've been doing in the past 10 to 15 years, she would just be like, oh my God, you made it. Whether it was in regards to my acting career or this channel or, you know, the fact that I'm engaged to be married, you know, she would be so impressed with what I've done. But I sit here now and I'm just like, I'm not successful enough. I'm not successful enough, which is just ridiculous. But I just want to remind myself of that in these times where I have that self-doubt of, you know what, maybe if I did this, maybe if I honed in on this one area, maybe if I changed this about me, you know, maybe I would be this, I would be that. It's such a waste of time to feel those regrets. And I know that I just need to forge ahead, just being myself. And if myself is a bit scattered, which it is, that's okay. It may take a little bit more time, but I know that me being authentic to myself and being authentic for my audience is really the best route to success anyway. So to sum it up, your success is not solely reliant on what other people think you need to be. You are human, which means that you are complex, you are multifaceted, so just accept that. It's absolutely okay. But again, if you are complex, but you're able to take all that complexity and aim it towards a singular thing, again, more power to you. And finally, don't compare yourself to others. Just be yourself. Genuinely, unapologetically yourself. That's really all I had to say today. I'm trying to put out some more of these kind of more personal thoughts videos because I think they are appreciated. I don't know. Let me know if they're not. I don't know. The past few that I've done, you guys seem to really appreciate and enjoy. So I thought I would just share like a little bit of Tiffany's advice. But you know what? That was kind of a long rant. So I'm just going to leave it at that today. And I'll see you all next week. I love you all so much. In the meantime, stay yourself and stay magical.